Council, item number 6 is council consideration for the proposed Martin Luther King Jr. Way Street renaming, which will be presented by Mr. Aaron. Mr. Aaron, please.
Where did Ms. Gant go?
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and Council. This item was placed on the agenda. There was some discussion, I would assume, about renaming Lee Street to Martin Luther King Jr. Way, and that's the item before you tonight.
Council, is there any questions?
Let me just, if I could. real
Go ahead,
quick.
sir.
Okay, this, certainly that's one of the things that we have endeavored to do here at the council is to make sure that we were representative of what the community desired and that we're trying to be very proactive. We understand that the STEM school is going to complete construction within the next 12 months. The school will actually be finished at the end of 2026, and they're going to open for the school year 2027. We're contemplating changing the name of the street, so we don't want the school to print up 1 million documents with Lee Street on it, understanding that Lee Street, the name is going to be changed to Lee Street. Understanding this, and I'm going to be quite honest with you, okay, Lee Street was named for General Lee, okay? And we have endeavored and had a discussion many years, about 18 months ago. We had another follow-up discussion after that we're going to remove a lot of the notations for that time period or the Confederate generals or community, and that we're going to rename some of these streets. This is one attempt in order to do that. The DDA will be proposing that we that the council, there'll be a resolution coming to you requesting permission that we use the park area, which is right next to the police department, to actually do something that we should have done many years ago, which is create a statue for Daddy King. We want to use the municipal park area as the DDA to champion that area, to put the statue right there in that park area, to repurpose that area so that it is that every person that comes through the city of Stockbridge would see the image of Daddy King. And that, a lot of times you come through here, certainly as you come down North Henry Boulevard, you don't really even encounter Martin Luther King Senior Heritage. You don't even encounter it because the bridge goes over it. Certainly the plans call for, with the new owner, having a mural attached to the Martin Luther King Senior Heritage Building at Building 106, at the address of 106 Martin Luther King Senior Heritage Trail. That's the red brick building on the end that used to be Rod Oglesby Realty. The good news is that we have a new clothing retailer that's going to be assuming that property, and they are agreeable to working with the city to have a mural crafted so that Martin Luther King Sr. will have an actual mural on the property that will be indicated along Martin Luther King Senior Heritage at that point. Now, the vision for the DDA is to craft that statue right there along North Henry Boulevard, so every student that goes to the STEM school passes by that statue of Daddy King every day when they enter the new $73 million STEM school. They will be able to look out their window out of the STEM school and to be able to see Daddy King, the statue of Daddy King. One of the iterations, the final iteration, has not been approved by the DDA or the request for the council, so this is a concept. One of the concepts is to have a statue of Daddy King, the adult Daddy King, and little Martin Luther King Jr. At that location, so that, again, every student that attends the STEM school, the teacher and the staff, as they pass by, will pass by that way. Now, we know right now that we have a South Lee Street and a North Lee Street as well. Some of the concepts that we have talked about is, again, changing the name of the street, the North and South Lee Street, to Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard. Martin Luther King Jr. Way. A lot of times we understand we go through Martin Luther King boulevards in other cities. They aren't exactly representative of the best areas of the city. To highlight this particular area that with Dr. King's name on it, to have a $73 million school on one end and the amphitheater entrance on the other end puts puts Dr. King on a substantial road that represents excellence and his dream being materialized right here in the city of Stockbridge. Our very own city manager also proposed that because as you go around the curve for the STEM school, the road actually changes names. It's Jackson Avenue or something
Yes.
right now. So what we would do is the STEM school. We know how many of y'all seen the movie Hidden Figures, right? So that portion leading from Rock Quarry Road to the STEM school would be named for Catherine Hamilton, who was one of the hidden figures, Catherine Johnson, for one of the hidden figures. So, what better representation that we could have than to have that? Again, initially, the issue is right now the name needs to be changed because the STEM school is going to open at the end of the year. They're creating documents. Also, right now, we have wayfinding signage that is being created right now that we're going to have to change, and we don't want that to be produced and then have to go back and tear it down after it's being put up. And certainly, we'd like to have input. Certainly, I've discussed that with the District 2 council member, Mr. Cloud, himself over here, and certainly I'll be interested in hearing his words as well. But the DDA initially brought this project because for about 10 years now, we've been trying to get a sufficient way to honor Daddy King in some significant way. Each time we started to climb up this hill, nothing happened. This time, we're determined that we're going to get that statue of Daddy King on the prime, most highly visible roadway in Stockbridge, that no one will pass through Stockbridge without knowing that Daddy King was born and raised here. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Councilwoman Barber.
Thank you, Mayor. This proposal, I guess, is in my district, the district that I'm duly elected to represent. I have a number of concerns. One, no one has come to discuss this with me at all. The second one is there are homeowners who will be affected by this. That is of concern to me. Not that I'm opposed to renaming it, but the timing of it. The timing of this, and without notice to those homeowners who are affected, is concerning to me. This is not a priority for me in City Council District 4. This is not one of the priorities that I've submitted. So, that's all.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Councilman Cloud.
In my thought process initially, I was a little apprehensive about this consideration because I didn't want to necessarily take away from Martin Luther King Sr. Trail, but it felt like Martin Luther King Jr. maybe just because the Senior Trail is unique in itself. And so I just thought about it and said, well, I don't necessarily want to take away from that since we got Martin Luther King Sr. But after giving it some thought and considering the connection and with the statue and all of that together, I do agree with that. I will say that I'm also a proponent of letting residents know that we want to change the name of the street. Yeah, that's my stance on that. So, but I guess with that, there would need to be a timeline because we need to change that as quick as possible. So I do understand we should let the residents know, but we need to do that quickly.
Thank you, Councilman Cloud.
Yes, sir, if I will follow up. Certainly.
Sure, go ahead, sir.
Okay, does Ms. Gant, you or Mr. Berry have anything to say before I speak?
Okay.
So what I would like to say is it does not have to be approved tonight. It certainly could. There could be some outreach to the community. I think there's maybe about 5 homes on both sides that would be affected, and certainly the property across the street from the STEM school is for sale. And understanding what I just said, the name is named for the Confederate general. We know that, okay? And certainly that's been something that we've endeavored in order to make and to correct for history's sake, to make sure that we understand what we represent as a city, and certainly that's something that we want to do as well. But certainly, we could go ahead and indicate that we're going to change the name of the street and then circle back and then have it be approved at the very next meeting once we send out notification to the residents. The time sensitivity of the issue, as I've indicated, is the STEM school will be finished at the end of the year. That means that the school is in the process of creating documents, creating directions to the school, creating GPS, and all of the above. We have to do that now because we don't want them to have to go back and revise all of that. So this is very time sensitive.
Yes, sir. Thank you for that, Mayor Pro Tem. Any other questions from council? Awesome. Thank you, Mr. Aaron. I'll accept the motion.
If you want to make a motion, you make the motion.
Yeah, I'll make a motion, Mayor, to, I guess, table this till the next meeting for approval. And notification, yeah, under the circumstance that we will notify those residents and, yeah.
Second.
I have a motion on the floor to table to the February work session meeting and to notify the residents that will be impacted. There's a motion and a second. All those in favor, please indicate by the sound of aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
I oppose, and may I add a comment, please, sir, for the record?
Briefly.
Thank you. So it's not just the homeowners who would be affected by this. There are the duplex that's right across the street. Again, no discussions have been had with me in reference to this. So I have concerns that those homeowners and residents who live on that street are going to be contacting me. They'll be asking me questions about this, and I have no idea of what they're doing. So I'm going to oppose this. I believe we need more than just 2 weeks to notify those homeowners. In fact, I think there should be an opportunity, a date, time set aside with a public notice board or something outside of that location, letting those homeowners and residents along that area, let them know that the city will be hosting an informational meeting to share this idea. And 2 weeks is not enough time. That's all. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Councilmember Anderson.
Okay. The purpose of this proposal is to name a street within the city of Stockbridge limits to honor and commemorate the legacy of Martin Luther King Jr. and his contributions to the heritage of the city. Rationale to recognize the contribution of Martin Luther King to the city, in addition to already recognizing and commemorating the contribution of Martin Luther King Sr., to provide a more familiar and unifying name to his street, which has high visibility due to its location near City Hall and the amphitheater. Here's an aerial photo of the Lee Street area, both North and Lee Street. Background information on Lee Street. Staff did research, and the earliest reference of Lee Street appears in 1949 City Council meeting minutes. It is true, there's a lot of information out there that states that the street was named after General Robert E. Lee, but that's not the case. When staff did its research, we found out that the street was named for a former City of Stockbridge mayor. And there was a commemoration memorial to the former mayor, R.E. Lee, back in 1952. I can't see. Okay.
I can't see that. I need
Yeah,
to
let me
see
try to
this.
let me try to increase that.
Can I get somebody? Is IT here for me, please? Okay, I see it.
You see it now?
Now scroll over.
So you see, from our research, we found that it was a commemoration to the former mayor. In 1952, the street was named after him.
Where? This is Perry Ward. Where's R.E. Lee? And the reason why I say that, because I was doing research and I couldn't find it, but I read a lot of the comments, and I do want to, do my research. So, but I'm saying, I don't see it.
Let me try to highlight it. Let me see.
I can go onto Muni Code. You said it was in the minutes of the meetings?
Yes. You come to my,
Come to the podium.
I can't, it's in this document, I can't blow it up. Can you blow it
Okay.
up?
You'll be able to see the meeting minutes on the Stockbridge website for the city clerk, and the city clerk minutes at the February 19th minutes for 1952. And
Okay.
you'll be able to read the entire document, which is a memorial to the former Mayor R.E. Lee upon his passing at February the 3rd. And it outlines all of the significant things that he did for the city of Stockbridge during his tenure from 1927 to 1932.
Okay. Thank you. I'm trying to pull it up now. I don't see it, but I want to, I don't see the name. But I see Mr. Lee's last dreams. I see something. I do.
I can't blow this shit up. Look at that presentation.
Where is it? I saw it.
Down to the bottom.
Going down, going down.
But pull up on my,
Okay. Mays and carried by vote, council requesting city clerk to write a memorial to the memory of our beloved mayor, honor R.E. Lee, and that it be spread upon the minute, and that a copy be sent to the family of the deceased, which reads as follows. Scroll over to the next page. I want to read it. I want to see for myself. Scroll up. Some of us think back in the days that we struggled with the Georgia Power Company trying to get electricity into our little city. After this was secured, he went to struggling for a paved road on highway through our town. And after this was accomplished, he went to work trying to get a waterworks system in town, which required several years of work and study, but was finally accomplished and completed, and the water was turned on May 15, 1949. He was very happy over the success. In the year of 1950, he went on to work to get natural gas distribution systems in the city, and on January 16, 1952, a franchise was granted to the Newton County Gas Corp., and an application was made for a surplus of 64 million cubic feet of gas per day, which is flowing through the line that is not being used. The application was made to the Transcontinental Pipeline Company, which has presented before the Power Commission in Washington, D.C. on January 16, 1952, but was put off until March 3rd. We trust this application will be accepted, as it was Mr. Lee's dream. We realize that we're going to miss him in many ways, and especially in our city affairs. He always had the welfare of others in mind, and he was ever mindful of a supreme being. He stood for the right to the best of his judgment, and we trust our loss in his eternal gain. To the family, we wish and express our heartfelt sympathy to you in your loss, and we pray God's richest blessings upon each of you along life's way. And if we can serve you in any way, we'll be happy to do so. We are. The clerk was instructed to write Mr. Ray Lambert a letter of thanks for the stone and the time he spent on the cemetery the day that Mr. Joseph Mann was buried, and also thank them for many favors he had done for the city. Also, the clerk was instructed to write Mr. J.O. Cohen, County Commissioner, a letter of thanks for works he had done recently in our little city. Upon a motion by Perry G. Foster and seconded by A.P. Ward and carried by a vote of council requiring all citizens to have a garbage can with a lid in designated place for it to be located. Also requiring citizens who have livestock of any kind such as hogs, cows, chickens, ducks, geese, dogs, or any other. Next page. The letter. Well, it didn't say a street.
Right, come to the mic.
But I mean, there's a street named Lee Street, so it could very well be after, but it doesn't say that in this, in the minutes.
There's no significant, and there's no real indication that it was actually named specifically for Lee Street, but that is the oral history of the city of Stockbridge, that was him. Because Lee
Where did
Street
you
is first
get the
identified.
oral history from?
We've got that from other places online, but it was not something that we could.
Where did you get it from?
There is a couple of websites that we were able to find where they're talking about the oral history and the oral history of it, but we couldn't put that here because it's something that's not citable. And because what we have to do, we have to put here what we can prove.
So to confirm, you're basically saying Lee Street is not named after anybody. It's just Lee Street.
Yes, this is the history, and this is the closest reference to Lee Street and its association with the name Lee.
Turn your mic on.
There's no
For the
stated.
first day that Lee Street became a postal.
1949.
That's the first mention of it in the city of Stockbridge meeting minutes. Lee Street is in 1949.
Immediately after this.
Yes, no, this is actually prior to this, because this was noted in 1952. He died February 3rd, 1952. He was still in office when he passed away. Lee Street was an active street prior to him becoming deceased as well, but it's assumed that it's named after his family and himself because of all of the dedication and hard work he did to the city.
Thank you. Any other questions from council?
Yes.
Go ahead,
If
sir.
I could, please. In situations like this, emotions are high. We got to have facts. We can't have you come to the podium and definitively say something, and we don't have the facts. We have to do that because what we based this on was the previous clerk, Ms. Holliday, had done the research and told us. Once we were trying to change a bunch of Confederate names in the city, this was one of them. But it's not the only reason that we want to change the name. It's because of the legacy and the dynamic history that we're trying to do. But what I'm trying to say to you is, please, when you come to that microphone, we got charged emotions in here. We got to have the facts. What you just stated as fact to us right now was not fact. And we need to operate now here is on facts, because what you stated was the staff has discovered that, and that is the fact. That is not the fact, because and then what I don't want us to do is to rely on Wikipedia, where anybody can put data into there, and then oral history where someone could say this, that, or the other. Let's rely on the facts, because motions are charged. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Councilman Barber.
Thank you, Mayor. Lee Street, North and South Lee Street, is within the city council district that I represent. I wanted to make it clear for the record, this is not an initiative that I brought forward. This is not a priority of City Council District 4. This was an idea that Mayor Pro Tem Alexander brought forward. We now know it is not a fact that Lee Street is named after the Confederate general. We have facts right in front of us. What I ask my councilmates is to please show compassion, as this is a very sensitive topic for those who have rich history here. I ask my councilmates to please keep in mind, we must preserve our city's history, good and bad. I do not support the renaming of Lee Street at this time, not because I don't support renaming it in the future. Our city needs a thorough and robust strategic plan on how we will grow and reimagine the future of our downtown. It seems like there are ideas that are just being thrown against the wall, and it's just fragmented. I would much rather for the council to task staff with bringing back to us a real vision on how we will develop and reimagine our downtown. Changing a street name is just not something that we should be gung-ho about right now. We're going against the desires and concerns by approving this of the residents who have expressed their concerns here. So those are points that I want my councilmates to consider. I will not be in support of this. And what else I want to make for the record? I believe staff, city staff, initially, they brought us back the research. I believe the Downtown Development Authority Board are also one of the ones who are driving this request. All of our city's boards and committees are recommending boards. The governing body makes the final decisions.
Is that all, Councilman Barber?
No, one more. Okay, so our city already has a MLK street. I don't want there to be another MLK naming of a street in my district. I am hopeful that my councilmates will be respectful. I am duly elected to represent this district. As you can see, there are homeowners and other stakeholders who are here who are upset. This is a very sensitive topic, so I ask you all to please let's table this so that we can have a broader discussion on how we will reimagine our downtown. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to have, I see your hand, sir. When I open up public comments, you all can then speak. I'm going to let Councilwoman Gant finish her comments, and I'm going to let you finish your presentation. Okay?
Thank you. So I don't see where there was any mention of naming Lee Street after the Mayor Lee Street. There might need to be we need to do some research and history on mayors and people anyway. What I've noticed is when I do a lot of research, it's kind of hard. We really don't have, I remember Mike Moon did some research at one point. I remember a couple of people having research done, but we really don't have anything concrete like a real history, a book or anything about Stockbridge that we can just go off of. And we may, but if they do, y'all can let me know. But one of the things I want to clarify is that was stated. I wasn't in support of changing the name of Lee Street because it was supposedly Confederate. No one told me that. That wasn't it. I didn't think of it as a Confederate street. It was just called Lee Street, right? People are removing Confederate statues or whatever they're moving. That's a different topic. That wasn't my thought process. So with all due respect, one council member's opinion of the street isn't everybody's opinion of the street. I was only saying, okay, we can honor Martin Luther King, Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. on a STEM school street, or we can, honor a scientist or whomever, because there's not a lot of houses on the street and not a lot of businesses on the street. And at the time, I honestly, in 2023, I thought Pinehurst was put up for sale. And I looked on there and it's on for, it says that it's still up for sale. So, and it wasn't being operated. So I was like, you know what? There's not a lot of businesses or anything being affected. Not that it was anything to do with a Confederate or Yankee or whatever you want to say. That wasn't my thought process. So I just want you guys to know that. It wasn't about that. It's more so about attracting people to downtown, creating a history and a narrative, talking about some of the things that we had to do in order to get that history and narrative here. Pastor Mike Moon actually was one of the people who spearheaded it with Councilman Alfonso Thomas, and they didn't do it here in City Hall. They did it over in Burke Street, at 107 Burke Street, at my old law firm. We were in the conference room trying to figure out and speak with the King family to keep everything on a hush, because some people didn't want people to know that Daddy King originated or was born and raised here in Stockbridge. I was an attestation to that. I was actually here. It wasn't me, it was Mike Moon, Pastor Mike Moon, and oh God, if I wouldn't have thought of his name right then, his cousin, what's his cousin name? Alfred was there. Alfonso Thomas was there. Sam, there were quite a few. So this has nothing to do about that. It's all about creating a tourist place for the father, Daddy King, and his family. That's what we were trying to create along with that thing in my head. So I just want you guys to know that. And I'm looking over here based off of, it kind of skips and jumps the minutes. It didn't even say what they actually did besides give a letter of recognition for what was done. But it didn't say, but the street was already here. Lee Street was still there. I don't know if Robert, it would be interesting to know if he lived on that street, right? But you can tell me in a minute in public comments, but just know that this has nothing to do with Confederate soldiers to me.
Yeah, once we put the legal ad out and sent out the public notification, received several calls from residents stating that the street was named after the former mayor, and staff tried hard to research to find that exact information, but we felt for the sake of transparency that could be a possibility, so we included that information in this presentation, that there was a former mayor named Lee in the city of Stockbridge.
There's probably a former mayor named Mays and or Gant or whoever, but that doesn't mean they named after me.
That's true.
Like, these are common names. Mm-hmm. Like, you have to give me something else. Burke, I need some history. Like, we know Strickland, I'm just saying, there has to be some more. There's no normally, a street named after a person has their full name or their initials, right? It'll be R.E. Lee or L. Gant. Make sure y'all do my whole initial. I don't want nobody saying ain't mine. But what I'm saying to you is, and I use that to, Judy Neal, right? It would have, or J. Neal, it would have something that indicated that that's what it's for. This is common, right? A. Ford, A.S. Ford. I mean, that's what it would do. We're talking about, we're grasping for straws, and I'm getting a little upset. Mm-hmm. So.
I'm going to allow you to finish your presentation, Mr. Anderson.
That's it.
Okay, you're done?
Yeah.
Any other? Okay, I have two questions.
Yeah.
We'll pass it over to Councilman McLeod and then back to Councilman Berry. Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, so just for clarification purposes, the mayor who we feel like, that we're speaking of passed away after our first record of research that the Lee Street was named, right?
Yes.
Did I ask that correctly?
Yes.
Okay. So for the public to hear this, I guess in the time period of this research, did we exhaust all the measures that we could to validate this street?
Well, we put it in there. I mean, we're not saying that it was named after him. We're saying that there is a possibility.
Right.
We're saying we couldn't find anything that was named after General Robert F. Lee.
Right.
So we just put this information. We include this information in this presentation for the sake of transparency, because we got several calls from residents stating that it was named after the former mayor. Staff did research trying to find that information, and we did the best we could, and we found what we did, so we included in the presentation just to bring that up to council for the sake of transparency.
So the biggest part of that was that we exhausted the measures that we could to do that research.
Yes, we did the best we could, yes.
Is Lee Street the original name for the street?
It first appeared in 1949, so I'm not sure. We couldn't find any research indicating that it had a previous name.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Bear?
Yeah, thank you, first of all, to everybody who's in your patience, and I know we got a lot of, personal connections to this, as it should, for those who live here and not. I think the point of this is that when the history is being debated and discussed, that we really owe ourselves to do the due diligence to make sure that we have the history correct. When you look at General Robert E. Lee, or any Confederate general, but him in particularly, he passed in 1870. 1870. This street began in 49, which is
No, it didn't.
1949.
That was the first
Well,
mention.
the first mention of it is in 49. Let me finish. And so, and the city itself started in 1920. 1920, which is 50 years after the death of General Robert E. Lee as well. I'm not saying either side is factual or incorrect, but what I do know is we don't have enough information to say one side or the other is correct or wrong. And when you don't have that information, and a lot of times with our history in the South, period, it's verbal. We didn't write a lot of stuff down. It was passed along word of mouth. It was story told. It was, generational conversations. And so with these wide gaps, right, you have a Confederate general who died in 1870. You have a city that began in 1920. You have a road that began another 30 years after that around 1950. These are huge gaps. These are huge gaps that we can't account for. And we have a responsibility to get to the bottom of it as best as we can. I don't think we're gonna do it tonight.
Yeah.
I don't think we have the ability to do it tonight, but I do know we owe the citizens who live on this street, the business owners who work on this street. There's too much of a discrepancy for us to be able to make a decision tonight. We need to do the right thing and do more information and more fact finding and more digging.
Yes, so,
One more question from council.
It's not a question, Mayor. I want to make a motion.
A motion?
Yes.
Well, I need to open up public comments.
Oh, okay.
At this time, I'll now open up public comments for constituents or members in the audience who are in favor of the name change to Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Way. Please come forward, state your name and address, please.
Anthony, 4708 Lily Glen Lane, of course, right here in Stockbridge, and I know it's March 9th. My previous comments said the wrong date. I will tell you, in my last 12 years of my life, as I traveled around the state, whether the Atlanta metro area, around the state, even people outside the state, I talked to one I live in Stockbridge, and I mentioned about the ancestral home of the King family. They don't know. They didn't realize it. A lot of folks don't realize, even African Americans or other diverse communities don't realize that. So I think it's great that we embrace that ancestral piece of this particular city and the King legacy. Now, obviously, we have Martin Luther King Senior Heritage Trail on the west side of our downtown area. Now, once approved, if this is approved, this would be Martin Luther King Jr. Way on the east side. And we're looking at developing a downtown area itself, so you have both these wonderful men of the King legacy on both sides of the downtown area. Now, actually, I would say to you, I'm thinking that you have, if it's approved, you have the amphitheater right there, you have a courthouse, a police headquarters, and then if you go further down, then you'll have the new STEM school right adjacent to this. I'm assuming this will go all the way to Rockroy Road. If that's the case, both of these gentlemen's street names, if approved, would touch Rockroy Road, which is also connects to the legacy of the King family, because Daddy King's father, as I understand, worked at Rock Quarry many, many years ago, well over 100 years or so ago. I will tell you that this is a way to continue to market the city for its growth, for historical aspect upon approval. Now, there were some suggestions made earlier about maybe having a plaque or something at both ends. That's something for you all to think about if you want to do that. And if this is approved, maybe you think about any compensation for the residents on the street in reference to the type of name change or type of things they have to do in reference to whatever personally in that aspect. That's something to think about if that's legally, if you can do that, and that might be help out the situation. On that note, thank you for listening. God bless you. And once again, Stockbridge, where community connects.
Thank you so much, Mr. Ford. Mayor Pro Tem, you had to add something?
Yeah, let me just say this real quick. I certainly appreciate everybody and the time. I appreciate everything that we've had conversations to go over this. But the one thing that we haven't talked about, and I'm glad you came to the mic, Mayor, was the actual vision. The vision came from the DDA, and what the plan includes is right by the police department, you have Municipal Park. Municipal Park now, for some reason, has a Statue of Liberty in the middle of it, right? Not sure why that decision was made. We have taken it upon ourselves, and the DDA will be sending forward a resolution to the city council to put a statue of Daddy King at that location and to change that location usage to, so every day when students come to the STEM school, they will pass by the statue of Martin Luther King Sr. every single day. And when people traverse the city of Stockbridge, they'll cross over Martin Luther King Senior Heritage, and they will pass by Martin Luther King Jr. Way, and they will not be able to pass it without seeing the statue of Daddy King right there, right across from the Justice Center, right across from the police department, symbolically creating a vision of justice. Now, we've been in conversations with the STEM school so that we would have, and I want to make this quick, that we will have a multi-use trail that runs along the railroad tracks between Martin Luther King Way and then Martin Luther King Senior Heritage Trail, connecting the King legacy, where you will have the church, where you will have the statue connected to Floyd Chapel Baptist Church, where people can actually walk the trail between the statue, the STEM school, and Floyd Chapel Baptist Church. That is the vision. And as Ms. Gant said, that wasn't the only reason that we were changing it. We were changing it because of the symbolic STEM school coming up. And certainly we wanted to have that be the branding of downtown. And as the mayor has indicated, and I'm closing in 15 seconds, we will have Martin Luther King Jr. Way on one side. You will have Martin Luther King Senior Heritage on the other side. And this will be a location like none other, because some of the times they put it in undesirable areas. But this will be the best Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard way in the country, with a $70 million STEM school on one side and the amphitheater on the other side. We're putting it in the best area in the city, not necessarily a depressed or necessarily diverse area. Thank you.
Anyone else want to speak in favor of the name change? Final call for anyone wanting to speak in favor. Right. Anyone that would like to speak oppose? Okay, come up, state your name and address, please.
Michael Randazzo, 111 Bryant Street. This is from the Henry County Weekly in 1900. There was a function. Those present were Melissa Edna Hightower, Mary Hightower, Lily Clark, Ruth Upchurch, Annie Lee, Annie Ellis, Messrs. R. Walter Hightower, Ben Hightower, Homer Harrell, Richard Lee, and Oliver Ellis. From the Henry County Weekly in 1880. Dr. Hightower is riding all night and day and says he has more calls than he can attend. Hightower and Lee together have a nice assortment of dry goods and groceries, which they will sell cheap for cash and for good notice. Now, one note, the Hightower house was 117 East Atlanta. Now, the oldest history comes from 1921. It's written by Mr. A.G. Harris about Old Zoar Church. The church, one among the first in the county, was located 5 miles north of McDonough on the McDonough-Atlanta Road. That's East Atlanta now. The church was organized about 1835. 1 acre of land was deeded to the trustees Matthew Gilbert, Benjamin Crabb, and Allen E. Johnson by Owensby, and the preacher in charge at the time was A. Dorman. The writer attended school at this place in the 1850s, with some prominent young men. Among them was Dr. Raleigh Hightower, Hightower Hospital, B.S. Eliot, Silas Walker, Chick Spears, Silas and Robert Ogilvy. All of these have passed over the river. Some of the pretty and attractive girls of today who attend school were Miss Sis Smith, Miss Tommy Glass. That's both Sheriff Glass's sisters, or aunts, or great-grandmothers. Miss Missouri Glass, Miss Jenny Walker. In 1884, Zoar Church was moved to Flippin, where it still remains in the Stockbridge Circuit. I probably do not have time to find the other one. Bear with me, please. Executor sale. One house and lot in the town of Stockbridge, said state and county, containing 1/2 acre more or less, bounded north by a lot of J.T. May, east by Thurman Askew, south by Miss Sally Lott, west by Lee Street. West by Lee Street, 1918. Also vacant lot fronting 50 feet on, and it doesn't say the street, bounded north by a lot of J.W. Hightower, east by a lot of Miss Pearl King, south by a lot of M.P. Lee, south by a lot of M.P. Lee, west by street. Sold for purpose of distribution. 1879. All persons hereby notified that 4 weeks after the date application will be made to the Court of Ordinary in Henry County for leave to sell certain mill property, to wit, Lee's Mill, situated, lying, and being in the original 12th district of said county, the same being a portion of a lot of land said district, upon which now resides one James Gilbert, belonging to the state of Samuel Lee, 1879.
Thank you. Sir, that's your time. Thank you
Thanks,
so
sir.
much. Any other comments against? Name and address, please.
Brandon Dubs, 118 Lake Terrace. The place of business that we have that's on Lee Street, I think it's like one of the only places of business besides the concrete place that's over there on that side. Before it was a place of business, from our understanding, it's one of the oldest houses in Stockbridge. Mrs. Lee was a teacher at Stockbridge. She lived in that house. Her husband raised cattle in that house. Believe it or not, when we took and brought all that place down and tried to remodel it, there was big barns out there, and it was a pasture right over next to where that apartment was. So, yeah, apparently he died in the field. I'm assuming that is the same Lee, but the coincidence of the Lee who we're talking about that was the mayor that did all these things that helped bring Stockbridge into the fine feature it is now. There might be consideration to look into it a little bit more, I would say.
I did a title search, and I didn't see that being the same name, Lee. But go ahead. I was trying to pull stuff too.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to knock it. I just couldn't find it. If somebody can find it, fine.
Counsel, let me let him finish.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, that was the impression that we had, and that was the impression as far as like his wife had taught school there forever, and we'd ran into people that had dealt with her and how she used to raise dogs there and all this kind of stuff, and I don't know. But anyway, like you were saying, maybe it's a little more consideration to find out if the facts are the facts before any big decision has been made. Okay. And I am excited about the STEM school. I hope it's good for everybody in the community.
Yeah.
Right?
Thank you. Any other comments against? Final call. Come on, sir.
Mayor.
1 second.
Okay, when we finish, I'm gonna make a motion.
Sure.
Chuck Dubs, 108 South Lee Street. You had a question about the authenticity of the address. The information I read to you was done by Steve Cash, who used to be involved in city council here. These minutes are taken from the city council meeting that he was named mayor and the street was named after him. It was a dirt road at first, and then they paved it. So it's his street. Okay?
Okay, thank you so much, sir.
There's no question as to them being named after him. None. Council meetings, that's where it came from.
Okay.
All right?
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
And let me ask you a question. Why Martin Luther King Jr.?
Sir, the public comments, you address me.
I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Yeah, why Martin Luther King Jr.? Why not Patrick Henry?
We'll
Why? Tell me why.
Mayor Pro Tem.
My question is, answer my question. Why Martin Luther King Jr.?
You give us all your questions, and then we'll answer when your remarks are over, because you're on a timer, so we want to give you as much time as possible to say all your
I
questions.
don't need any more time. I just wanted that question. Why?
He'll answer it when I recognize him. Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Okay. Go ahead, Mayor Pro Tem. I'm sorry.
Close the
Hold on.
public hearing.
What's the time? Okay, I have one more public mention against. Got you.
I just said why.
Yeah, I wanted to.
Marvin Gross, 115 North Lee Street, Stockbridge. I'm hearing some conversation about maybe negatively about MLK being the name. I don't know that should be the reason. I mean, the Kings, I mean, obviously they're honored, not just in Stockbridge, but there's a national holiday. I mean, he did a lot of great things. That's obvious. The Lees, and Hightowers, and lots of other ones in Stockbridge did a lot of great things for Stockbridge, not for the world, but for Stockbridge. One of the Lees, and I don't know the name, but was very instrumental about bringing the electricity and the water here, which obviously is very important. The street that we're talking about on North Lee Street, it got paved in 1968, I believe, 7 or 8, I'm not sure, because it was a dirt road when I was there to begin with, and it was muddy a lot. I can guarantee it. I played in it, so I know. But again, I don't want it changed to nothing. Just leave it the same. And everything you said, somebody said about the statue, changing the whatever's up there now and all that, it sounds really good. I mean, I'm not against that at all. I just don't want to change the names of the streets through there because it's been that way for so long, and it just will affect us, that's all. I just, and the kids and all that, I mean, obviously they're going to be affected by where they go to school and the people around them and the statue and everything Stockbridge is trying to do. I understand. But I just don't see why we have to eliminate that part of our history here in Stockbridge. Thank y'all.
All right, thank you. I've now closed the public hearing. Go on to a few more council remarks. Go ahead, Mayor Pro Tem.
Let me just say this. Certainly it's been eye-opening to see this. We've had a mention of the street in 1918, long before we got to this point. We've had a mention of the street in 1800. So obviously the staff did some research on this, and we need to do some additional research because if the street existed in 1918 or it existed in 18 such and such, then obviously this was long before we got to the point where we noticed this notation in the street. And certainly, let's just say Dr. King is fitting of honor in any city, on any street, anywhere in America at any time. And certainly this particular situation that we have here, and we cannot be cognizant and not understanding that a lot of things happened during that time. And certainly if the street existed in 1918 or existed in 1800, so there's some pre-existing stuff there, and it's actually older than the city indicated that it is. So the public hearing is now closed, as we have indicated, and Councilman Berry, as has indicated, that we need some additional research. And I think that might be fitting at this point, is that I make a motion to charge the staff.
Mayor Pro Tem, I have a few more questions from council.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Councilman and constituents of Stockbridge.
You're good, sir.
My name is Willie Carter. I want to oppose this Lee Street name change due to the fact we already have Martin Luther King Heritage Trail. Also the community, which has been for the past decade, at least within a decade, an underprivileged area, and changing the name to a way seems like you just cracking 2 eggs to make an omelet to deflect and bring up on a new name. So I would think it should stay Lee Street and Martin Luther King Trails Way, stay Martin Luther King Trails Way. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Madam Clerk?
Anthony Ford.
Anthony Ford, 708 Lily Glen Lane, here right here in Stockbridge. Good evening, Mayor and Council. And bottom line up front, I'm in favor of the street change from Lee Street to Dr. Martin Luther King. Now, here, let me tell you why. Obviously, we do have a Dr. Martin Luther King Senior Heritage Trail on the east side of downtown. This, once you approve it, if that's the case, it'll be on the west side. You're looking at redeveloping the downtown area. So you'll have the downtown develop between these two streets, and both of these streets, as I said last month when I came before you, swing around and connect with Rock Quarry Road, which is a main thoroughfare. And also, the legacy of the King family here in Stockbridge is very significant in this aspect as well. And obviously, Dr. King's grandfather, Daddy King's father, has connections to Rock Quarry because he, as I understand, worked at the quarry right down the street as well. And obviously, I want to approve, if you approve this, it'll swing by the backside of our amphitheater, it'll be close by the actual courthouse, swing by the police station, and connect, and actually go right by our STEM school, and then connect into Rock Quarry Road. I will tell you, I have a personal, I'm pretty sure none of us ever met both Daddy King or Dr. Martin Luther King. But obviously you read a lot of things about what they've done for society, for the state of Georgia, for our country in this aspect as well. I have a personal connection with Dr. King. He and I happen to be members of the same collegiate fraternity, Alpha Phi Fraternity Incorporated. And he's one of our most famous brothers in that fraternity. We have a lot of famous brothers, great brothers, he's one of them in this aspect. So I have a personal connection to that, and I'd like to, since I'm a resident of Stockbridge, I'd like to see this particular change. Besides that, I would also tell you that I would think that even though Councilman Thomas is not here with us, with the good Lord, I would think that if he was present, he would also look to approve, in my humble, common type of opinion, would want to approve this as well. And if that is the case, and that you do that, I know he'll be smiling down and say, good job in this aspect as well. The other thing I'd like to mention to you, if you decide to change it to Martin Luther King Way, I make a recommendation that you actually put doctor in front of that, in that aspect as well, because that's what everybody addresses him, per se, professionally in our country and in the course of the world itself. I think it'll be a good thing, and actually, if this happens, if you approve this, I'm pretty sure that Stockbridge will probably be the only city in our country, I bet you, that would have both father and son on both sides of the downtown area where you redevelop. I'm pretty sure, I haven't researched this, but I just bet you that there are other relatives, father, sons, mother, daughters, or whatever the case may be, cities that have names of people in those cities across the country somewhere. I'm pretty sure they probably exist. Thank you for your time. God bless you all. And Stockbridge is where community connects.
Madam Clerk, who's the next person?
Judy Neal.
Hello, my name is Judy Neal, and I live at 174 Eagles Club Drive in Stockbridge. I, too, am here to speak up in opposition to changing the name. It absolutely has nothing to do with what you want to change it to, except the people that own a business across the street. I don't think anybody really stopped to think that they have weddings, and we don't have any idea how long it would take to change this on the Google map. It's pretty easy to go online and make that request, but it tells you clearly there's no guarantee of how long it will take. And I think you've seen that a lot of people in the community are very respectful of the Lee family and all the things that they did for Stockbridge. And it's not that anybody's opposed to Dr. Martin Luther King, but it's the Lee family in Stockbridge, Georgia, that made a tremendous difference. And I would like to join with the others, the gentlemen and the owners of Pinehurst catering facility, to ask you to be respectful. And also, to my knowledge, there was no fiscal note attached to the idea of buying a statue and putting it in the park. And without a fiscal note, we don't have any idea. But I will tell you that in McDonough, when the Patrick Henry statue was built and designed and built and put in the at the courthouse, that was about $95,000 for that statue. And in today's money, if you run the numbers, it's over $130,000. And when we already owe millions of dollars in Stockbridge, the city owes millions of dollars. I think it is very foolish to get on a tangent, and I use that word kind of selectively, about why would we want to just do something that the citizens are against? It's going to cost us money that we don't have right now. And so I would just like to ask on behalf of all that are in opposition to please just put this on a back burner for a while. And let's give the Henry County school system the opportunity to bring forth something that will put us on the map. Changing the name of a street is not going to put us on the map. But what these people are doing for Henry County will put us on the map in Stockbridge. So let's respect them and let them get the joy out of doing what they're doing without a little war going on over what we're going to name the street. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. And our final comment for the evening?
Charles Marshall.
Charles Marshall, 140 Somerset Hills, McDonough, Georgia, which is in the city limits of Stockbridge. Mayor Williams and council members, and congratulations to you, Mayor Williams, and to Council Member Cloud for being newly elected to the Stockbridge City Government. My comments tonight are short, but focuses on the community support for the street renaming of Lee Street to Martin Luther King Jr. Way. Street renaming is nothing unique, but often follows similar patterns, sometimes honoring national figures or just following some logical system. There have been an uncountable number of streets renamed in this country. And as we continue to celebrate and give recognition to the many great Americans that we celebrate, the Martin Luther King family is no exception. There have been 955 streets named or renamed after MLK, spanning over 41 states in this country and 1,000 other places worldwide. MLK Sr., better known as Daddy King, brought us Martin Luther King Jr., and as we know, has great history here in our city. Consequently, we changed the name of North Berry Street to Martin Luther King Sr. Heritage Trail in honor of that name. And now we have an opportunity to give honor to in a more public way to the legacy of his son. We now have an opportunity to reflect the name of Martin Luther King Jr. Way across and intersecting with North Henry Boulevard for all passing through our great city to see. Mr. Mayor and City Council members, we in the wider community of the City of Stockbridge ask for your approval of the renaming of Lee Street to Martin Luther King Jr. Way. Thank you.
Business. Street name change for North Lee Street and South Lee Street. Council District 4, second reading, consideration of a resolution to change names of both streets, North Lee Street and South Lee Street, to Martin Luther King Jr. Way. This action is intended to honor the legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. while aligning the corridor with a name that reflects the community's historical and cultural values. The applicant is City of Stockbridge, Mr. Anderson.
Mayor.
It says presented by, so I'm just making sure we don't need to say anything before we move forward.
Well, we did some additional research since the last meeting. We combed through over 60 pages of documents, and we couldn't find any conclusive evidence to say who the street was named after.
Yes, sir.
Yep, that's it.
Mayor Pro Tem, you had something to add?
No, I just, that's it. It was a vote only, so we're just gonna vote.
All right. I'll accept the motion at this time.
Mayor, I would like to make a motion to rename North Lee Street and South Lee Street Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Way in the city of Stockbridge, changing the name of North and South Lee Street.
Mayor,
Yes, ma'am.
discussion.
I need a second to open discussion. Is there a second?
I second.
All right. Discussion. Go ahead, Councilwoman.
Okay. So at the start of our meeting, I know this gentleman brought to the council administrative deed of sale of the property along Lee Street. And it's right here. Talks about William Jackson Lee. It's the deed of sale.
Are you asking me a question?
It's a deed of sale. Do you all have this in your documentation?
I'm not exactly sure. But that doesn't say the street was named after the former mayor. So what we did, we was looking for evidence to prove that the street was named after the former mayor, and we don't have anything conclusive that states that.
Okay. Mayor?
Yes, ma'am.
I oppose this.
I didn't call for the vote just yet.
Well, let me finish my comment.
Okay.
I am in opposition of this. It is in the city council district that I am duly elected to represent. What I have requested previously, well, with the original discussion, is that we task staff with bringing us back a plan on how we would go about renaming of streets in the downtown. I support revitalization of our downtown. No doubt about it. MLK Senior Heritage Trail, one side of the street, is in my district. So will this new street or proposed street. I do not believe that it is beneficial for us to do street naming. I don't want us to have like a hodgepodge of street naming just randomly. This whole idea did not come from me. It didn't come from the representative of the residents and stakeholders who are affected, who will be affected by such a change. I think it's unfair because homeowners, business owners who've lived along Lee Street for more than 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, have come and made their public comments. They're on the record. I would hope that my councilmates will at some point listen to the desires of the residents and the business owners in this area. This is a very sensitive subject. I ask that you all please reconsider this whole initiative because it does not serve any benefit to this district, my district, the district that I am duly elected to represent. That's all, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. Any other council discussion?
Question for Mr. Anderson
Yes,
before
sir.
we go to vote. Mr. Anderson, you said that you were able to do some research and were not able to conclusively determine who the street was named after originally. Is that
Yes,
what you're
that's
saying?
correct. Yes.
So what level?
Sir, I can't have you doing that during this meeting. Thank you so much, Council.
So what did you find out, or did you find anything out?
I mean, we found a lot of evidence referencing the former mayor living on Lee Street, but we were searching for conclusive evidence, definitive evidence that stated whom the street was named after. We couldn't find whether it was named after Robert E. Lee or whatever, but we just couldn't find any evidence that stated it was definitively named after the former mayor Lee.
Did you find the earliest date of it being Lee Street? Were you able
Yes, it's in the package. I didn't pull it up. It's in the presentation. Okay. I got it. It goes back even further. But like I said, Councilmember Berry, we couldn't find any definitive evidence. But if you understand the genealogy of street names, how street names originate, is usually originated at the largest property owner, the first-time settlers, a landmark, famous people, or other stuff like that. So, I mean, if you had to form a conclusion, I mean, you probably would reach the if you had to form an opinion or a conclusion, you probably would say it was named after the Lee family, based on the genealogy of how streets obtain their names.
Good. Council? All right, final call. Any more discussion from council? All right, closing discussion. Moving on to proceed with the motion. All those in favor, please indicate. Ma'am. All right, go ahead. Go ahead.
I want to make sure that the city clerk, do you have a copy of this administrator's deed of sale that was handed by this? Okay. And every member of the governing body also received a copy of this administrator's deed of sale in reference to Lee Street?
Can you come to the mic, Madam
Each
Clerk?
member of council
Or
has a
the mic.
copy of this?
Yeah.
Is it a certified document?
It is stamped.
It's certified.
It is stamped by Henry County. It even references the county clerk, Office of Clerk of Superior Court. This is stamped and dated. I ask that Mr. Anderson or Mr. Edmondson, or anyone who wants to review this.
But that still doesn't state that it was named after the former mayor.
That's just the deed.
I can only assume, because it's Lee Street, it's the only Lee Street that we have here in the city. So I can only assume that it was named after the former mayor.
For clarification, this document was handed to the clerk
Thank you, sir.
prior to the meeting today.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Moving on to the motion, there's a motion and a second. All those in favor, please indicate by the sign of aye. Any opposed?
I oppose.
Any abstention? 3-1-1. Okay, moving on to new.
Bob, Richard, and Walter built 3 homes.
For Joyce Andrews, this street isn't just a name, it's like family. She says generations ago, 3 Lee brothers built homes along Lee Street. And today, one of those homes still stands. For her, that history should stay. Andrews says part of the debate centers around a rumor.
As Robert E. Lee has never had anything to do with the naming of Lee Street in Stockbridge, Georgia.
The mayor of Stockbridge agrees.
That is something that was said. Unfortunately, there is no data or any documents to prove that.
But city leaders voted to change Lee Street to Martin Luther King Jr. Way. Some in the city say the change honors the legacy of Jr., whose father, Martin Luther King Sr., was born in Stockbridge. There is already a street in the city named in his honor, the Martin Luther King Sr. Heritage Trail. Supporters say this is about recognizing that legacy.
There have been an uncountable number of streets renamed in this country. And as we continue to celebrate and give recognition to the many great Americans that we celebrate, the Martin Luther King family is no exception.
A local historian tells CBS News Atlanta Lee Street was named after a longtime Stockbridge mayor, R.E. Lee, who helped bring paved roads and electricity to the city. He says this is the same family who built the 3 homes on Lee Street. We also looked into how a street name change is supposed to happen in the city. City code shows a request must be reviewed by a city director before going to council for final approval. But the mayor also admits the process did not fully reach residents. He says they did notify residents of the change, keeping the process in line with city guidelines. Still, for Andrews, no matter the process, it's about more than a name.
It goes back to the early 1900s. So why would you go about changing history?
So what's next in all of this? Well,
Thank you so much. That'll conclude our public comments At this time, I will call for the presentation portion of our agenda, and I'll ask for the Henry County Schools to give the City of